What's up, ladies and gents? We're back with another Sledder Cast giveaway. We are dropping the Carbon Pursuit episode. Frank was kind enough to hook us up with a headlight delete kit. So whether you're on a Gen 5 Skidoo, a Polaris Matrix, or an Arctic Cat Catalyst, we're giving away a headlight delete kit. I think these are like 175, maybe 200 bucks. We're giving one of those away. All you got to do, hit the link below, enter the giveaway. It's going to take you 3 to 5 seconds is all. Let's go. All right, hey, welcome back to another season 2 episode of the Sledder Cast podcast. We're gonna play with the sun today.
Yep.
Who knows how it's gonna shake out? Looks like I'm gonna take the brunt of it, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to tuck into the shade here.
We might be sitting here on each other's laps here before we know it. But I got Frank Tousignant here, and his name's tricky, but we did some practicing.
Yep, we got her dialed in.
We got her dialed in, Tousignant. And if you don't know, I mean, it sounds like an easy name to say, but it really doesn't. If you look at it, it's not an easy name to say.
Yep, we got a couple extra letters in that one.
Yeah. So Frank's the owner, founder, creator, builder of Carbon Pursuit. You've done a few podcasts. You did Sled Sand.
Yep.
Last year here at Heydays.
Yep.
They moved closer to us. Literally, we could probably like shoot them with a squirt gun if we wanted to. Right through the trailer.
Right out
there.
the back door.
Yeah, right out the back door. Mess with them a little bit, you know. But we have a fun discussion going on today. We've got sleds moving around. We're still working the booth here, and Frank's got to get back to his booth as well. Next door to the Sea Boys this year.
Yeah, right across. So yeah, it should be hopefully busy.
Gonna be a party over there.
Should be a lot of foot traffic, I would think. So yeah, hopefully get some new eyes into the booth, and intelligently, speak to the products we sell. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Frank, knowing the conversation that we're going to have today, and also knowing that we're human and we all have attention, like our attention spans are just dropping like crazy, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking to that person who's just swiping right now.
Yeah.
They stumble across maybe our thumbnail or a little reel or something.
Yeah.
What can you say to that person that's going to get them to stop and tune in to this episode that we're going to have here?
Yeah, I would say just, we got sleds, we got carbon fiber, and then we got the trials and tribulations of a small business, bootstrapping a business from the ground up. And so I think there's a lot of audience that can relate to that, family business, things like that. So not only is it sled talk, but there's a lot else that goes on in, this small niche industry that I think we can, captivate the minds of a lot of people.
Yeah. So to give a little background here, maybe I can tee some of this up. I thought you were a cool dude from day one, dude. Like, I think you initially reached out and were like, "Hey, I'm looking to, I've got this company," and anyways, you weren't like assumptive or assuming, "Hey, hook me up." Like there wasn't a free hand there. Saw you at Heydays that year. You were out hustling the swaps there with Carbon Pursuit. I feel like although, we're not close in proximity to you, but like from afar, I feel like I've watched like a cool process, like being in the swaps, and we'll talk more about this later on in the episode. But you got like some dudes, some dogs riding for you.
Yes,
right?
We definitely have been blessed with riders adopting our parts and, collabing with us and things like that. I mean, that's been a huge part of the process here. So, yeah.
So on your side of things, what kind of inspired you to start Carbon Pursuit? Yeah,
so I've always loved snowmobiles. I've always been a snowmobiler. Grew up here in Minnesota, and so just growing up trail riding, things like that. And then I would say, but never got to be a racer. So that was never in my opportunities throughout my childhood. Didn't get introduced to the West until I was probably 18, 19 years old. So 10 years ago, somewhere in there. So
you're a young buck, man. You're not even in the 30s.
I just turned 30 this.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm crossed over that threshold now.
Okay.
So. But I think for me, growing up around sleds and always enjoying that, and then went off to school to do composite materials engineering. And during that process, it was kind of like, just, hey, this could be my opportunity to kind of combine, something that I have a passion for as from an industry standpoint in snowmobiling, but also with something that I'm looking to do from a career standpoint.
Yeah.
So looking to do carbon fiber composites and, kind of bringing those together, during school, looking at sleds, and we did a carbon fiber ski during a school project and things like that to, just see what we could do. And that's largely me, just, that's where my interests have always been.
Interest plus curiosity. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, and then I would say, from a little bit of a background standpoint, at that point when I got out of school, I kind of like put the hobby on pause, and so I went to work for an aviation company doing big composites for them.
Yep.
And so I did that for a couple years and truly enjoyed that. Got to build a lot of cool stuff. Really learned the ways of how to build composites the aviation world style instead of so much like the hobby maker style.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if anybody wants to talk, how I build parts and things like that, and we might get into that, but there's a difference to how I kind of build, and, it's a one way to do it in this world of carbon fiber composites. And so, yeah, and then, fast forward a little bit and, riding my own. So then got introduced to the West. I've always been a cat guy, so I had an Alpha, and that rail, can sometimes catch us. We should say that shock setup on an Alpha rail is a big part of it, but it's nice to have that kind of additional security of a rail brace. And so that was my first endeavor, and then just kind of have rolled with it from there.
So was that that Alpha 1 rail, was that kind of where the light bulb kind of clicked for you, where you're like, hey, I've got a skill set here.
Yeah.
And there's a problem that should be solved.
Yeah.
And let me see if I can go solve that problem.
Exactly. And I think, during, before that, it was watching companies like Nextech Rails, make carbon fiber rails. And there's that C3 Power Sports, I believe, that was around for a while. They were doing some carbon fiber work back, maybe like early 2000s, mid 2000s. And so I saw those companies and I was kind of like, that's super cool. That's kind of the stuff I know how to do. And, I could build that stuff. And then, like you said, I think that Alpha 1 rail being like, hey, I can help this. I know properties of materials and what can benefit this and how big we should build it, how strong we should build it, so we can, give a solution to a rider that meets the needs kind of thing. So
if you go back to that first Alpha 1 rail that you did, compared to today's version of it, what's kind of how is it changed? Has it changed much? Or?
So our rail brace we updated this year. So we ran the original rail brace. So I did a year of testing. I was fortunate to have Chase Yock do some testing for me. He was one of the first people to kind of put their foot with Carbon Pursuit and really help me out there. Which is great. I can't thank.
How did you get in? How did you get? In with Chase?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough that Sealy Lake was, a spot to go ride, and hooked up with Freshies Built and got to ride with Chase and Riley Wadsworth and then Kyle out there, and just those guys took me under their wings. Really, I mean that was one of my first kind of in this industry people that kind of like made me feel at home. And at the time I was a nobody. And it's like I was just this small guy, and I'm still this small guy building shop parts out of my garage, but. It's kind of like those guys didn't have to go out of their way for me, and they did. And so that was kind of like, gained enough testing to know like, this works. It's these guys are beating the hell out of it and it's working good.
Yeah.
And so then that was kind of like, hey, let's try to roll this as a business and not just a, parts for myself kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I when I was getting ready for this podcast, I listened back again to the episode you did with Sled Sand.
Yep.
With the boys over there, and so a lot of this, I'm like, it's cool to be sitting here in this chair with you because I was like inspired, man.
Yeah.
Like hearing your story and obviously, like I said, watching it along the way, super inspiring. So as far as like the progression goes, right? I'm 2022.
Yep.
2022.
Yep.
Was your last year? Was it your first year and last year? With Carbon Pursuit in the swaps?
Yeah, so we would have did, 22 first and last. So we did 22 in the swap, and then 23 last year we moved to a spot.
Yep.
And then this would be our third year in the vendor area.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. So how has that progression been? Like, has there been, like, getting hooked up with, like, those guys, right, is a big break, right? But has there been any other, like, that you can recall? That was, there's a lot of luck that has to come in play when you're starting a business. Any of those moments, lucky moments,
For me, I've always just been a believer in hard work and just outworking as many people as I can. Like, that's been my motto on life is I might not be the smartest guy, I might not be the most talented, but if I just truly outwork everybody that I can, I will get to where I want to be.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I've taken this approach. You know, it's a ground up business, and out of my garage, and, you know, building high-end performance parts and, you know, trying to sell to the niche market of snowmobiling. And just, like I said, I mean, we've had unbelievable riders that have been willing to work with us, which from, you know, footprint and reach and where we can, you know, get our parts in front of people, that's been huge. Social media, that's been great. From a parts progression, the Polaris Matrix headlight delete last year, that was the one where, you know, that was a new niche within this market. You know, we had done bracing, we had done skid plates and things like that, and those had done well. But there was nothing like that. I was like, oh man, this is just, you know, totally, you know, expanded the people that know who Carbon Pursuit is. And that Polaris Matrix headlight delete, I would say, had last season really helped.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of let people know that, hey, Carbon Pursuit's out there, and, you know, they're building these cool parts, and, you know, we can save weight. And, you know, we've had a lot of great stories of people smashing up hoods, and, you know, that headlight delete survives. And I think that really starts to instill this confidence of like, whoa, this guy knows how to build stuff, you know, and like it's high quality and it's, you know, a good price and I can afford it. And I think there's been a stigma in this industry of like, oh, carbon fiber, that's crazy, I can't put that on my sled. And that's been a goal of mine, is to like try to bridge that gap, right? Where it's like, if you're a backcountry rider, like, you don't have to look past Carbon Pursuit because it's got carbon in the name. Like, we can find something that fits, you know, the budget of your build. So
for sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, before we hit record here, I was telling you, I'm not much of, like, I don't tinker on machines. I'm not a tinkerer. Yeah. Right. So like my stuff needs to just work for me.
Yep.
Or I'm kind of in trouble.
Yep.
You know. But just like, you know, we threw 3 or 4 the headlight deletes on the Matrix. It was like 5 minutes, they're all done.
Yeah.
Like, it is so quick and easy, which I don't know, maybe that's just a normal way to think through the process of development, but it truly is. Like, we didn't use the same holes, same placement, same location. Like, everything is the exact same. Pop it out, pop it in. Boom.
Yeah. That's been a big part of my, you know, just, you know, part of my core values within Carbon Pursuit is trying to make the customer's life easy. Try not to be something where at the end of the install process, you know, the curse words had flown and the YouTube videos had to come out, and, you know, there's true like, oh my gosh, I would never do this again. You know, like, this was a brutal install. The part's great, but it was a brutal install.
Kind of like the first time you wrap a sled, right? You're like, I'm never doing that again.
The patience, right? But yeah, and so I think, you know, using as many existing holes as possible. The great thing with carbon fiber is I can provide strength without having to add a bunch of holes, add a bunch of hardware, beef things up. So it's like, I can say, hey, here's stock, and if I can hit those holes and make that work from a geometry standpoint, I can provide a lot of strength, save a lot of weight, and install should be easy. Yeah. So, trying.
Doing a good job, man. Doing a good job. So, starting a small business.
Yes, me.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
I would say a lot of companies here are right in our shoes, like, you know, small business.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I think this industry has been, you know, founded on a lot of companies just, you know, starting from the ground up.
Yeah. What's been, as on the business side?
Yes.
What's been like the biggest challenge for you to overcome?
I think if you talk to anybody within this industry that has started something, you know, themselves from the ground up, I think they would say that there's that long road that's lonely, you know, like it's just you at the end of the day, right? Like, you're the only guy in the garage, you're the only guy designing parts, you're the only guy, you know, going through this whole process, and there's no part of that that's easy, you know. And if you don't have that grind, that work ethic, the motivation to do it, you know, whatever it takes you to, you know, work through the wee hours of the night and all that stuff, like, it's really hard to make that go, you know, because it'd be easier to not do it. And so, that's been, I think, one of the biggest challenges for me, is just maintaining the fact that, you know, at 10, 11 o'clock at night, when the kids finally, you know, settle down, hey, I got to go out in the garage and I got to work. And then I got to get up and I got to do my day job. And, that's all part of it. But if you're going to make something of it, I got to go wide open. I can't go half throttle at that,
For sure.
Otherwise, we wouldn't get to where we're hoping to be.
Yeah. No one sees, what you do in the dark.
Yeah.
What you do or don't do.
Yeah.
No one sees if you cut it short and you don't go through with it.
Yeah, exactly.
No one sees the amount of time that you actually do put in.
Exactly.
Most people are hoping for your failure.
Yes. Oh, that's a huge part of this.
And it's not until the success happens where it's like, now you're noticing. But this whole time, the last 3 years, I was grinding the whole time.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a saying that I really like where it's like, you're going to be in an auditorium by yourself for a long time just clapping for yourself. Just one guy.
That is so true.
Clapping. There's nobody else saying, hey, you got to do this. We're cheering for you. And there's great people that, at certain times throughout the journey really, give you that like burst of like, oh, man, this is great. But then that fades, right?
Yeah.
And then you're right back to where you were of like, okay, it's just me again, And there's so much to learn, my family owns businesses and things like that, but I have to learn how to run my own business, So there's building carbon fiber parts and selling and things like that, which I can do that, but like, there's so much more to a business, which it's like, and when you're a person of one, like, okay, I got to learn all these things, that maybe I don't want to learn, but in order to run a business, I got to go spend the time and, figure that out because there's nobody else to do those things.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. There's, a quote, I don't know, I can't remember who said it, but you got to look past their self-doubt.
Yep.
As an entrepreneur.
Yep.
One moment you're like, I can do freaking anything. No one's stopping me. Yep. Like 2 minutes later, you're like, I'm the worst.
Yep, this is
like
terrible.
This sucks. This is a terrible thing, right?
Yep.
One thing that has stuck out to me though is you've got all these people out here talking.
Yeah.
Say whatever they're saying, right? And you got to ask yourself the question, how many of them are going to be at my funeral?
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
And chances are you're going to say 0 of them are going to be there.
Yep.
So why the heck do I
Why
care
do I care
what they think or say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Blinders on, just grind.
Yep.
Right?
You got to do it for yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, whatever your reasons are that motivate you, that has to be the reasons you do it. And I think for me with Carbon Pursuit, it's like I said, it's a passion for carbon fiber, it's a passion for sleds, and then it's for my family, So I got a wife and 2 small kids. I got a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old, and it's just for me, I want my family to know that Dad worked his ass off to get to where we're at, and there was nothing was handed to us, kind of thing. And there's a pride level, right? A respect level that, I want my kids to, feel that and, say, hey, Dad worked really hard to, build something that hopefully is something, that lasts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the best schooling they're going to get, man. There.
Yep.
Right. Well, let's talk about carbon fiber.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I'm like I said, I'm fully transparent. I don't know much about carbon fiber.
Yep.
Right. I know, like, generally speaking, carbon fiber, I know what it looks like.
Yep.
Right. But I've seen some videos, and what you begin with does not look anything like what you end with here.
No.
So
yeah, for me, so like I said, there's some different ways to do it. So like a lot of people might build things through like dry fiber, wet resin, infusing that together, vacuuming the wet resin into the dry fiber, and then curing under vacuum. I do it a little bit different. So my material is called pre-preg, and so it comes in a sheet that's already has resin impregnated to the fibers on both sides, and then it's frozen, and so it has to stay in a freezer. So the minute it comes out of the freezer, that resin kind of kicks and starts curing, and so in order to, have any sort of shelf life, it's got to be stored in freezers.
Yeah.
And so that's where it starts. It comes out, and it comes, like I said, on a big roll, and you roll it out, and then, cut your shapes and, start building within a mold. That's kind of where it starts. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so talk to me about these. What we got here. I haven't seen this before.
Yep.
This I have seen, obviously.
This is brand new. So this is our headlight delete for the Catalyst. So for the new Cat. And so, this is a brand new one this year. And so I'm pretty excited about this one because when you start taking the cat hood apart and you take that headlight out, it leaves you a pretty big opening
place to
try to fill it. And there's not a lot of great mounting locations. And so from a design standpoint, trying to have something that looks good, is aesthetically, appealing to the customer, but then also, truly, can work from an install standpoint.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a challenge, and I think, we hopefully came up with something that people are going to really like. On the sled, I really like it. I'm a big fan of mod looking sleds, especially like growing up here in the Midwest, like mod snowcross sleds and things like that. And so I think we did a pretty good job of that. It's definitely it's light. There's a lot of weight to be saved. I think we're saving like just over 2.5 pounds.
Oh, wow.
With this, and we charge $175 for our headlight deletes, which in the grand scheme of things, that dollar per weight savings is really good. It's hard to save weight easily on these sleds. We can all do the cans and things like that, and there's big weight savings to be had there. But once you get past the easy stuff, then it gets harder. You're talking tie bolts and things like that, which add up quick. And so, $175 for a carbon headlight delete that's going to save you a couple pounds.
Yeah. I think the Matrix headlight delete, are we right around 2 pounds?
I think 3.
Is it 3?
Just over 3.
It was either 2 or 3. I can't remember.
Yeah, with the original, so Matrix is 19 through now current, but that original headlight that was in there, it's just over 3 pounds of savings. And then now Polaris has debuted that little bit lighter weight headlight for the 2025s. So it's not as much of a weight savings there with the new headlight that they have in there. But we still are lighter than that. We're still saving a couple pounds there instead of the big 3 pounds, that we were saving with that Matrix headlight delete.
And when you say like 3 pounds, you're like, really?
Yeah.
But actually, when you hold them, like you really notice it when you're holding them in both hands, right? Like. Yeah,
and I think, you guys are all backcountry sledders as well. And I think what we don't realize is how much weight we carry on our backs, and, we're all running Avi bags, which even an empty Avi bag is heavy, and then we fill it, and we fill our tunnel bags, and, we got this big 500-plus pound sled that we're trying to throw around, and it's like, it's fatigue as the day goes. So, it's kind of like you might get on it in the morning and be like, oh, I'm ready, this feels good. And then by the end of the day, that backpack feels really heavy, and that sled feels really heavy when you're digging it out. So, it helps. 3 pounds helps.
It does, yeah.
We got the rain coming in now.
We do. Holy smokes. Yeah, we had to move. If we lost audio, that would be the worst. So I wanted to make sure we brought that in. But we're kind of protected right here.
Yeah, we're tucked in.
We're tucked in. Those cameras
are not.
Not so much.
Do we need to move them? Should we take a pause?
Let me just take a pause real quick. Maybe I can just move that one back and then zoom in.
Yep.
So hold on one second. Hey guys and gals, if you love the show and want to support us, head on over to deviantinc.com. Use the code SledderCast. Save some money on your next premium custom wrap. If you've spent any time on deviantinc.com, you already know it is the best, easiest custom wrap builder tool out there. With its new interactive design tools, makes designing and customizing wraps super slick. We're big fans of the new color mixer tool. It randomizes colors until you land on the perfect combo. A design mixer tool is a game changer when you already know what colors you want and you want to see all of our designs in just your pre-selected colors. So head on over to deviantinc.com, use the code SledderCast, save some money on your next wrap purchase. Let's get back to the show.
Okay. Yeah, let's so just wrapping up a little bit there on how I build with the pre-preg and stuff like that. And so my parts all go under a vacuum bag. So vacuum pump, suck all the air out, compress the parts super hard, drive those fibers and everything together, make a good strong part. And then I actually cook all my stuff in an oven. Oh. And so a lot of, more like hobby style, or even like bigger scale parts where like if the oven's not, it's going to be hard to get that part in an oven because it's huge. Yep. Then they go more of like that wet resin, suck it in, and then just cure it out. Yeah. Or my stuff goes in an oven and then basically every night overnight cure. And so then that's the way that we get the really high like performance properties. So we get stronger materials, we get higher resin properties. So my big thing is, coming from the aviation world is, the difference in temperatures you're going to see, right? So you're going to see super cold, you're going to see super hot. And then when you cure in an oven with high temp performance resins, you get those properties. And so for me, like, especially with sled stuff, I've always been like, the under the hood temperatures are super hot, but then we might have these sleds sitting at 30 below. Yeah. And so I've always wanted to produce a part that I'm not worried about, that
the fluctuation there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not worried about that resin getting too hot from the pipe under the hood and being like, hey, buddy, why'd your part start melting, or something like that. Like the resin is something going on here. And so that's where I've always, kind of leaned into hard on the pre-preg, in the sense of like, yes, it's more expensive. It's, I got to have freezers, I got to have ovens. There's way more manufacturing challenges with that.
Yeah.
But it's the fact of, I get a better performing part. And then the nice thing too is, so the pre-preg, like I said, comes with the resin already in it. So there's not extra resin put into the part. So if you want to build the lightest part you can, that's what the pre-preg does. Because it's like, here's your bare minimum. You need this amount of resin to get a nice looking part that's going to be fully, adhered and, chemically bonded and all that. But you don't have this, super thick, resin surface over the top, and then throughout the part that, bulks it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's as light as I can get it.
Yeah. So what is like the breaking point, break strength? Help me understand a little bit. Like with carbon fiber.
Yeah. So, like, if we compared to aluminum, let's take aluminum. So, normally, if I take an equal thickness aluminum bar to a carbon fiber bar of the same thickness, I'm usually going to be about double the strength and then about half the weight, roughly. If you're using good high-performance materials that, like I said, everything's dialed in from a resin to fiber ratio, that's roughly rule of thumb. Give or take a little bit, but about twice as strong, half as light as that aluminum bar.
Yeah. What is it with carbon fiber that allows you to pull those numbers?
It's just the fibers itself.
You
you have
fibers in there is what is holding everything and just keeping it.
Yeah, and it's like you look at that and it's like it looks like it's one big fiber running, but it's like it's a bundle of fibers.
Yeah.
And so there's all those tiny fibers that are all bundled together to make, tons of, fabric that's all tied together. And then, like I said, when you use that, whatever resin system you use, mine are epoxy, now you're chemically bonding all those layers together.
What kind of customization can you do with carbon fiber? Like, can you change like colors and?
Yes, I can do colors. So when I first started Carbon Pursuit, that was going to be my big thing. Is I was like, I'm going to offer all these colors, and the colors come with usually carbon black, and then pick your color. But then that is usually fiberglass or Kevlar, so you can dye those two materials. And so you can do the black and the blue or the black and the green and all that, and that looks super cool. And there's where you get into like the customization. But the hard thing for me is, like I said, I got to store all these materials in a freezer, and they're expensive. And so it's like to have this full product line of, hey, I got 10 different color options. That's a lot.
That's tough when you're starting. A
lot of inventory to stock, and a lot of like I can't build and ship overnight. Like I got a whole process to get through. So it's like, if somebody says, hey, it's, January 15th and I got a sledding trip next weekend, can you build that in blue and black? Like, no, I can't.
And you've got all these different colorways that you got to go fulfill for. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So then I got to stock more inventory and all this stuff. And so, like, we do have a little bit of colors left over that, like, if someone reaches out and says, hey, I'm looking for this color, and if I have it, then I'm happy to build it for them. But going forward, until there's, more of maybe a push for colors, like, I've tried to just be like, okay, I'm doing black.
Yep, nail it, scale it, there you go.
Yeah, and then I think, maybe something else is like, so you can get different weave patterns. And so I've done some bigger weave patterns where it looks like checkerboardy. And that seems to, people like that as a little bit something different than just kind of the smaller weave. And so I do build some parts with that too. So you might see that on some sleds as kind of like one-offs. Every once in a while I'll throw one in there.
So we'll know why now, why it looks different.
Yeah, so it's just a different weave.
That's cool. I think I remember just a recent video that Matt with Muskoka Freeway, he posted, he did that whole carbon build sled. It's up there.
Yeah, I'm excited to go see
it. He said, I don't recommend anyone doing this.
I give Matt so much credit for taking on what he's taken on with that build, because just the knowledge that it takes to try to build a part, and like it's not easy, and it's not a lot of fun at certain points. Like it's wet resins and sticky and smelly and all this stuff, and it's fiber's hard to cut and it's dusty and all that. I mean, like when I cut all these parts, like it's a full white hazmat suit, ventilator, and I'm in this thing sweating for hours. It's not super fun, but
someone's got to do it.
That's how the parts got to get cut. So
that's cool. So prototyping.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you test? Like, what's your prototyping and testing process like? Is it a pretty quick
So, I mean, from a design standpoint, we can make CAD iterations pretty quick and, work through that. And then, but the testing part of it is,
So, wait, are you going, like, I'm going to ask some silly questions here, but are you going CAD to, like, 3D print?
Yeah, normally.
To kind of get the positioning, sizing, dimensions down, and then once
Yeah.
and then you roll it over into.
So that's a big part of Carbon Pursuit, and I would say how we do things a little bit different is all my products, or most of them, are CAD design, and so it's the time spent to create something that is not built off of an existing part. My belt guards.
Okay.
So full transparency, my belt guards for Polaris and Cat are built off of that existing part, so that it's the same geometry.
Sure.
Like it just didn't make sense from a volume standpoint to go redesign that to look the same, and then like I can't change that design.
Yeah.
But all the headlight deletes are my designs, so that's all the time spent to make that look good and all that, and then like I said, 3D print. Make sure it fits, make tweaks, try to tighten up tolerances, all that stuff. And then at that point, we go to a mold. And so it's a full carbon fiber mold that we make. And then that's a whole process in itself. And then once we get that mold, then we can start pulling production parts out of it. So it's a process to get to that point. And then, like I said, I've been fortunate that there's been some really good guys in this industry that have been willing to truly test products for me.
Yeah.
Testing is a tough one because most people say, oh, free parts, I'd love to test your parts. But my caveat to that is always, okay, you have a blower pow day and you're in the backcountry and that part breaks. Are you going to be mad at me, calling me, saying, hey, this part broke and I had to tow my sled out? But, hey, that was a free part that you were willing to test for me, right?
Yeah.
So there's that fine line, and you got to find the right people. So, like, I know Levi Green works with you guys.
Yeah.
And so Levi Green has been awesome for me in the sense of, like,
Such a stud.
Totally willing to truly test parts and knows that, hey, if this breaks, I'm going to let Frank know we're going to make a better part, but I'm not going to be mad at Frank, and I'm not going to hold this against him kind of thing. And so it's finding guys like that. Like I said, the guys at Freshies Built have been great. Kyle, Chase, just truly being willing to test products and know that, hey, this might not be the final version. So, let's get there with it, though.
Yeah, and it does take a certain individual, right?
It does.
Like you said, you have to be, it's like a founding member. Like there's just things that you have to be okay with. And and there's the excitement that goes with it. Like I'm like testing something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it through the ringer here, see how it holds up. And you just got to have to kind of you can't
it's part of that tinkering, right?
Yeah.
It's like a true, like, hey, I want to help this company, but also for me, like, it has to be something that excites me, using something new. Like, I'm from the Midwest here, so I mean, I fully admit, like, when I go out myself to test, I'm nervous because it's like, okay, I'm out here for a short window.
Yeah.
I have my sled. I have as much tools and parts as I can bring, but like I can't go back to my shop and dial it back in. Like I'm wrenching either in the trailer, or the garage, or wherever I'm staying, and so it's tough because it's like, I mean, the guys that are out there in the West, that's where like I really have leaned heavy on those guys to like, okay, I can't be out West all year long. I have a day job. I have a family, so help me. Help me get it there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, the future of Carbon Pursuit.
Yeah.
What does that look like? I ask this question all the time. Like all the guys here just shake their heads when I ask people this question.
Yeah.
I always love the question. If you had a blank canvas, you could snap your fingers and you could draw the picture.
Yeah.
What does that picture look like in the next 2-3 years? What does that canvas look like for you?
I think for me personally, the desire has always been able to go full time with this. This is my passion. I truly love what I get to do here, but it's got to pay the bills, as we talked before the episode. And so that's a big part of it, is if it 3, 5, whatever it took to get there, if it ever could be like, hey, this makes sense to, truly go full time doing Carbon Pursuit, that would be a huge win for me, because now I have that much more time, resources of my, time is the big one, right? So it's kind of like that would help me to further develop that business. And I think like building out, the infrastructure where now I can build bigger parts. Like I said, I don't see me going away from building parts the way I build them.
Yeah.
And so in order to build bigger parts, it's bigger ovens, it's bigger, just bigger manufacturing capabilities and things like that. And so as you scale the business, if I could truly expand that, and start to get into that, that's where I see, the next 3 to 5, hopefully.
Yeah.
Because then you can get into some really cool stuff too, There's great companies out there doing, hoods and full suspensions and things like that, And so eventually, if we could get there, that'd be great, But I know that it takes time and money to get to those things, And like I said, the way that I build, I want to stay true to my core there, and keep building where I feel confident that these parts are truly what I'm, the customer can feel confident in what they put on their sleds.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're here at the lightning round.
Yeah.
So we're going to ask you the same 2 questions we ask everybody. Y'all are familiar with this by now. You know the program. But you've got a brand new sled.
Yep.
And you've got a couple 858s. Or you have an 858 coming?
I have an 858 coming.
858 coming.
Yep.
So let's roll with that machine.
Yep.
Brand new.
Yep.
Naked. Okay. What are the 3 things that the first 3 things that you're going to do to that machine?
Yeah.
To make it yours.
Yeah.
Wraps don't count.
First 3, I would definitely say, and I, being a little biased, but also like I do believe in the product, is I would go headlight delete. I just I run an Oxbow light, so I have confidence that, I don't need a headlight, there's times where a headlight isn't a great additional help, but for the little bit of, maybe that evening dusk ride back, my Oxbow gets me back, you know, and so I do like to save that weight. Like I said, I love the look of what we've put out from a headlight delete standpoint. So I'd go that number 1. I'm a big believer in clutching. So I'd go clutching number 2. So, full clutch kit, really try to get that, power from your, power plant to your track, elevation, the different elevations we ride at. I think your sled performance makes such a difference with clutching. And so, properly dialing in that clutching. And then I would say third would just be most likely like the exhaust system, so, if you can go, Y pipe, single pipe, can, if you're going full thing, or if you're just saying, pick one of those, I'd go, the can, just from the overall weight savings, I think that's a great combo if you can save some weight on each part. And then also, like I said, try to get a little bit more power out of it without going crazy. And I think then at that point, you've still got a very reliable sled.
Yeah.
You haven't gone full crazy.
Too crazy.
Yeah,
all that stuff's pretty simple to do.
Yeah, pretty simple. Like I said, it's not going to break the bank from a budget standpoint. So, we all got to put gas in the trucks and gas in the sleds. So, that'd be a pretty budget build. So, yeah. That'd be my 3.
Cool. Okay. Now, what's the one thing that most of us don't know about you?
Yeah, I would say one thing that people don't know about me is I do love like fitness. So like I love health. Not only just like working out, but like big sauna, ice bath. So that's a big part of like I would say my regimen or whatever you want to call it, my routine. Like red light laser, stuff like that. You know, like really trying to take care of my body and trying to, preserve whatever youth I have left now that I'm 30 years old.
Oh, man, now,
exactly.
boy.
Things are going to start hurting here. But yeah, so, like I said, and then kind of more towards like a hybrid kind of style. So not just lifting and not just cardio, but combining them both. Like, I don't know, are you familiar with Nick Bear, BPN supplements?
The name, not a follower, but the name, I'm familiar with.
Yeah, so, he's kind of like, I feel like kind of forged this path of like a hybrid athlete, where like, I mean, the guy's huge, but yet he runs, long distance, 100-miler kind of stuff, and so it's like, dang, that's super cool, especially like for what we do as sledders. Like, I really believe in that, like, trying to go to the mountain not only as strong as you can be, but also as cardio, set up as you can be, because that
mobility,
combination. Yeah, exactly. And then, like I said, I know you guys are into the ice baths. I don't know if you're into the sauna as well, but that's
we do a sauna. Probably. Well, some of these guys here, I mean, they're almost every night.
Yeah.
So
it's awesome.
We have a pretty cool setup with one of the guys who works with us. They're on the Teton River.
Okay.
And there's a sauna house.
That's awesome.
On the river. And so you go from the sauna into the river.
And then back in.
And in the wintertime, they'll chisel out
that is super cool.
A hole in the river.
Yep.
Water slows down.
Yep.
And so it'll be a little bit colder.
That's awesome.
Probably, closer to the mid-30s probably at that point. But
Yep. No, that's when I saw that you guys did that ice bath with Jack and Dylan from Boondock Nation, I was like, that's super cool. I love that part of that episode. I was like, that is a good way to close that one out. Just get those boys in the ice bath.
Yeah, we punked the crap out of those
that's
guys.
Great.
They had no idea.
That's good.
They were good sports.
Throw the curveball at them, right?
They were like literally like packed up to go back home. Luckily, we went and bought swimsuits from Walmart for them.
That's perfect.
So.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, super stoked to have Frank on the episode. Hopefully, everything worked out. I think we're still recording here.
Perfect.
Had a little bit of rain. Frank dropped some bombs for us, some knowledge, some goodies, and
what
for someone who did not know anything about Carbon Pursuit before this episode, and we're maybe introducing them, where should they go? What should be the first thing they should do to maybe go learn more about your company? And
we've got our website, and then also we've got all our social medias, and I would say, like, reach out. Like, that's the great thing about family business is, like, when you reach out, it's either me or Leah, my wife, answering. I'm always available via call. I'll hand out my personal cell, and if you have a question or something like that, I'm happy to talk through stuff. It's been a big goal of mine with this business as well, is just to try to provide a customer experience that's truly different. It doesn't have that, like, oh, I bought a part and, there's nobody to call, or there's nobody to, whatever. And so I try my best to keep that, family business feel. And, when somebody buys a part, I reach out to them and thank them and, tell them, like, it means the world to me, because it really does. And so,
that's so true.
It does.
When people, when it's your business.
Yes.
And that transaction happens, and someone spent their hard-earned money on the thing that you labored so much for.
Yep.
You're like, I don't know who you are, but I love you.
Exactly. And I think when it's the highest part of that is when the person buys it full price without asking for any discount, and it's just like, hey, I believe in that part, or I want that part, and I paid full price. It's like, oh man, come on over, buddy. I'll make you dinner. Let's, like, you're my friend.
Dinner tomorrow, right?
Exactly. And it is true. Like, those are the small wins that, really add up and, make you feel good as a, business owner.
Love it. Love the story. Love Carbon Pursuit. And thanks again.
Yeah, thank
Frank.
you. I appreciate it.
Hopefully we'll see you in Island Park this morning.
Yeah, that's the goal. We'll come see you guys.
Okay. All right. Thanks, bud.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. We'll see you.